I wish everybody in this community would say, oh, Burbank said it, so it's true. Well, no, you have to back that up. And when you have the facts, when you have video, when you have this type of evidence that you can show, why not give that out and say, here it is? Because that does, in fact, back it up. And I'll tell you what, if we're wrong as the police and we demonstrate and we show that and we're saying we're going to fix it, well, then that's some genuine trust that can be developed because we've said we're wrong and we've said, here it is. But boy, to hide behind it is just killing us right now. Yeah. And we haven't learned. Doug, how many years have we been talking about this exact same circumstance, and we just continue to repeat it?
And now we do have the video, and it is, you mentioned in some cases you have more than one. You have several officers. Sometimes you have surveillance video. You have all kinds of things that are out there. How do we deal with the legal side of this, where sometimes you'll have a DA who just goes, oh, no, we can't release it because it will jeopardize the case?
Well, Doug, this is what it goes back to, right? The criminal justice system is broken right now in our system. The outcome is a biased system. We incarcerate people. We use force against people of color at a higher rate. And so to say, and all the studies have shown, all the research has shown that color, race is not an indicator of criminal behavior, but the outcome is biased. And then we have, on top of this, all the shootings, all the riots, everything that's taken place. We can't say this is a good system. So now it's time to step outside that system. I mean, this goes back to Ferguson, right? You allowed that young man's body to lie in the roadway in front of his family and neighbors for how long in the name of we're gathering everything? Well, we know who shot him. Right? That was never a question. The evidence, it's time to change this dynamic. It's time for the entire system to change the dynamic, right? Yes, prosecution may be more difficult if you release some of this, but the public trust and confidence and what it would prevent in the name of good relationships, this is about relationships, Doug. It is not about whether or not we prosecute somebody for a Class A misdemeanor. This is about the well-being of our community, and we're forgetting that. It's time to move this out of the political realm into a relationship realm between the police and the public. And here's the trust and confidence because we are going to provide you everything that we have on this.
What has changed? Chris, I wonder about this. I always ask chicken or the egg thing. What has happened here? Are we more conscious? Are we more skeptical? Are we now where before maybe these black lives didn't matter as much? Dare I say that? And society, if a black person was not was involved, well, then there wasn't the scrutiny, and they didn't have the voice to speak up the way they did. What has changed? I'm speaking really openly now. I'll probably get some hate mail for a misspeak here somewhere, but we've got to be able to speak candidly. Is that the situation in the old days, when things appeared to be so tranquil, leave it to Beaver and everything was fine, that maybe these lives didn't matter as much?
Well, I think they always mattered to those individuals, those family members, those community members, right? And that's.
But what about society?
Well, what we've seen now is we have failed to address the race issue in the United States for years now. And we relied on, yes, we've accomplished some things. And there is no question, right? If you go back in history, we've done a very good job. But have we solved this? No. And it is a conversation that is very difficult to have.
Yeah. Well, this is a conversation that I'll have with some people. People come up and go, Doug, what happened? It didn't used to be like this. Everything was peaceful. Everything was fine. Everything was dandy. We seem not to have the problems. And I guess the question that I'm asking is, well, the problems were there, and things were happening like this, but we just didn't pay as much attention to them?
Well, I don't think we paid as much attention. I don't think we had the national exposure that we do now.
Right.
It was very local. I mean, now with the way media has changed and the news and the internet and everything else, that is now instantly, right? You're seeing live what took place. I believe it was his daughter that was broadcasting on, putting out, this is what's going on right from the scene. Those types of things didn't happen, right? Especially when I started my career. That wasn't even, nobody knew what happened in Salt Lake City until the day after.
Remember the woman who was sitting in the front seat of the car and had the child in
Minnesota.
The back seat? Oh my goodness. That just wouldn't, we never would have had that viewpoint before. And and again, kind of getting back to what I was talking about, technology attitudes, societal attitudes, whatever it might have been. I mean, you think of that one thing where the guy is walking away and the officer shoots him. We never would have known that if somebody had not had the camera there, had the cell phone camera there.
Well, we have always had issues with law enforcement. We send good people out into situations to deal with people at their worst, right? There's always emotion. There's always a firearm involved because you bring it when you're the police officer. And now we are seeing some mistakes, some errors, and in fact, in some cases, criminal behavior by law enforcement. We need to, again, change our practice, right? We're still going back to the same old thing over and over again. It is time to change the dynamic as the police and say, no, we're going to do something a little different. We have incarcerated people at such a high rate for misdemeanor violations in the name of rehabilitation. And when we look, and recidivism still hovers around 70% in this nation. Yeah. We're not rehabilitating people. It's time to change all that dynamic and give some people some hope and say, no, we're going to do something different. And yes, it takes a radical different look and an idea that, no, we're going to change this dynamic. We cannot continue to do the same thing over and over again and think we're going to have success. We've demonstrated that.
Every day, like you, I just go, okay, what is the shooting du jour? What is the mass killing du jour? What is happening? And honestly, it starts to become corrosive where people, I think, start to give up. Chris, we unfortunately are out of time. We need to schedule a time when we can spend a little bit of time, take phone calls, get people's attitudes.
I would be happy to.
Speak frankly. I always appreciated, not only now, but when you were chief, just very frank, open speaking conversations where we can really exchange ideas. Chris, I always appreciate your expertise. I appreciate your friendship, and I appreciate you being here this morning.
Thanks so much.